And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition here of the Man of Steel podcast with yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. As we are going live right now, another late time. We'll be back normal time soon here. We are a day away, believe it or not. We are here. The stage is getting ready to be set. Kickoff of the NFL season officially capping off tomorrow on Thursday night with the defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the Houston Texans. A rematch from the 2019 AFC Divisional Playoff. In that contest, as we'll see the leader, the new generation, I guess you could say, more than likely, Patrick Mahomes, who definitely be looking to prove themselves as the fitting Super Bowl champs for this generation. Both big money quarterbacks getting taken care of this past off season, and we're going to get into a lot more as Pittsburgh Steelers. We are now officially less than 5 days away from their kickoff when they go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey in MetLife Stadium, take on the Giants. And also, by the way, Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben, he's back. We'll find out, will his playbill translate on the field? But first and foremost, let's start with the biggest news happening today, announced by this man, none other than Ryan Shazier, as it was soon to be expected. Here we go.
I was 5 years old. I made the greatest discovery of my life. I discovered a game that I love, the game of football. Ever since then, I've given my life to the game. I love everything about it, playing it, practicing it, studying it, watching it, talking about it, and thinking about it. Football gave me everything I could ever want and more. It taught me about hard work, dedication, teamwork. It took me to college and the NFL. It made me money and gave me a life that most people can only dream about. I'm here today to make sure the world knows how much I still love football, how grateful I am for everything football gave me, and I'm here to let the world know that today I am officially retiring from the game I love so much.
And there you have it, Ryan Shazier, who about almost 3 years ago in December against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football had that spinal injury to his back, the spinal contusion, which would knock him out for the rest of the regular season. Pretty much Steelers kept leaving him hanging around on their contract as far as like taking care of him health-wise, missing 2 straight seasons. And right now, gotta admit, just watching that video, I almost broke down and cried seeing that. For a guy who's been doing a lot of wonders ever since stepping away from the game, been hustling, doing everything in his power to like not only be able to walk again, but still at the same time be a family guy and still have a way ultimately trying to have another crack at the game of football. Like I said, I mean, a lot of people probably look at this as a sad day. It was something that I'm sure a lot of people expected. But I mean, this guy right here, I mean, you've been hearing the main motivation from him, Shaleev. He's got the Shaleev Fight organization, Shaleev Fight Foundation, excuse me. And when we look at it for everything going on, when we try and look at this guy right now, as far as like what he's been doing, the Shaleev Fight Foundation, excuse me. Sorry for keep tripping up on that. But I mean, this guy right here, it just goes to show you a brutal reminder how devastating this game can be. And just never know. I mean, just playing basically nowadays, anyone playing this game feels like you're putting your lives on the line. I mean, for these fans right there, like Michael Singletary said a long time ago, Pro Football Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion with the Chicago Bears. I mean, when he played it, this game is a war. I mean, when you go out there and just want everyone to give everything that they have and lay it all on there. And unfortunately, for a guy like Ryan Shazier, I mean, like I said, when you look at a guy who's was able to get married, have kids, you better believe at the end of the day, too, he's also looking at his family in the picture as far as, like, what he's trying to do here. I mean, with his life going forward, trying to put anything in jeopardy. This guy who's trying to find happiness and continue to spread the joy across. And for those people not wanting to give up or anything in this world, but yeah, bittersweet to say the least. But at the same time, saw this coming a long time ago. The only sad thing is for me, when I remember it happening that year, like about a few months earlier, I just finally got the Ryan Shazier Steeler jersey that season. It was definitely hard for me. I mean, just to have his jersey and then to see possibly, I mean, a career-threatening injury if he was ever going to come back. But, I mean, at the same time, you look at more this guy, like the way he was getting himself healthy and physically overcoming a lot of obstacles here. And there you have it. He's stepping away from the game. It was announced early this morning. And I really believe for right now, I mean, this guy, he's paid his dues for playing 4 seasons nearly and everything that he has meant to this organization. And not only that, but just anybody watching in sports or just out and off the field about how he continues to conduct himself. And I guess, like, you know, it's like one of those things in life where we look at it's not necessarily like an honor, but I mean, usually it is kind of like a privilege in a way. It's not necessarily a necessity playing this game of football, just like how it is like when we're driving or anything else that we get privileged to us that we feel like we've earned. And so there you have it. Shazier, he is stepping away from the game. We've had Mike Tomlin commenting on Ryan Shazier. Quality player, yes, but unbelievable man also. No doubt about it. I mean, you see what he has meant, how he's touched so many across. And now you move forward, I mean, with a guy like Devin Bush, who were able to draft about pretty much almost 2 seasons later. I mean, you pretty much have probably a real good subtle piece for going forward. I mean, in this lineup, but still, you know what? I'm just glad at the end of the day Shazier's in a happier spot, but at the same time, you can definitely tell how tough it was on him. I mean, to have that, I mean, just to step away from it. I mean, he's going out on his own terms, I would have to say. As we're going on this Man Steel podcast, real quickly, what's your favorite Ryan Shazier memories, you could say, right now, since doing up for the black and gold, ever since coming in here, being drafted in the first round back in 2014, had him coming out of Ohio State University, doing a lot of things right there. I mean, of course, that last year he was playing, definitely had, I think, potential for Defensive Player of the Year candidacy, the way he was playing, and just doing a lot of things real quick on that field, doing a good job, I think, helping quarterback that defense and what they were able to do for that season. And that 2017 season almost seemed to be like a dream season in a way, but I had an ugly collapse right there. I mean, definitely losing Shazier for the season, that was definitely one of the bad signs right there. I mean, for what was come for that season. I mean, they would go on to lose in the first round of the playoffs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then little by little, like some of your star-studded guys on offense, not going to get into the names, but you know who, would actually move on within over a year time, year and a half. And we've seen how, like, the fortunes of this franchise has been drastically changing. You can go back to, like, when Dan Rooney passed away back in 2017. I mean, back in April, Holy Thursday, right around Easter weekend. And just some stuff, I mean, little by little, you just saw, like, chinks in the armor in this organization. I mean, still obviously doing with a lot of class. I mean, I think Art Rooney. But for right now, I got a couple of people on here commenting. Jimmy Allen, what do you think Cam Newton going to do? Well, I tell you what, I think Cam Newton for right now, and I think the Patriots, I'll be honest with you, I think they could probably grind out to like a 8-8 season at the minimum. No more than 10-6, I think, for this year. The only problem is when we look at a team like the Patriots. I mean, you got a lot of starters too who have also opted out due to the COVID-19. Don't forget. I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on him when we look at it. I mean, for everyone going into this, I mean, for the COVID-19 opt-out, the Patriots have 8 players who have been opting out due to this pandemic real quick over here when we look at it. I mean, it's going to be a lot on him, I mean, for this season. And I'm not really expecting a whole lot. I mean, obviously, coming here with Bill Belichick, taking a big-time gamble on him. I mean, a former MVP right there. And when we look like the potential that he had, when we look at all, and I'm just really curious to see how they're going to be able to make that work. I still maintain Belichick is going to be the smart guy over Tom Brady eventually, but right now, make no mistake about it. I mean, Brady looks like he's in the catbird seat, finally getting the guys, the weapons he's been so needing, going over to Tampa Bay with Mike Evans and all that. As we look at it over here, I mean, for the season, it's definitely going to be a lot interesting right now for this year. 8 players right there, and I think that's just definitely going to be putting a lot on him, a lot of pressure on here. Also, I got Go 3-timer here, join here on Instagram. How you doing? I hope your day is going well right now. Just to recap for any of those you tuning in, we're talking right now. Ryan Shazier just announced his retirement for his NFL career and looking to do some stuff with Shaleave Fight Foundation and probably do an NFL podcast according to Missy Matthews. That was one of the other things that was being mentioned too. And also do some other business ventures going on. And I really believe a guy like Shazier, I mean, he's going to be – I think he's going to be ultimately an ambassador for this team continuing going forward. We also got – also, too, so, Jimmy, that's what I'm going to say for this year. I think for Cam Newton, I'm going to say no more – I'm going to say 8-8 minimum, no more than 10-6. That's what I'm going to give him and the Patriots for this season, if that answers your question. I'm not actually expecting a whole lot only because he's going to be without a lot of key players in this season here. I mean, when we look at it, and I just really believe for right now, I mean, we'll find out how things continue to shape up. I mean, for this, since the life of post Tom Brady, and now just dealing with Bill Belichick right now as we look at it. Again, if you guys want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Prodigy Richey. And then for the Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter, at Mass Steel CJR, at Mass Steel Nation on Instagram, which you see me streaming live off right now. As we continue to look at things, marching in stride for this year. How we continue to look at all of it for right now. But anyway, real quickly, just to get into a quick note too. I mean, when we also look at it, see if I can find those list of players right there for the Patriots, who's going to be opting out for this season. Here we go. Got the list right now. So please excuse me. Just bear with me here. So for the New England Patriots, I mean, really, it seems like a lot more bench players than anything, to be honest, yeah. And I'd be really interested to see how that's going to work. Okay, sorry, I got the wrong list here. My bad. Well, as far as like the New England Patriots go, you're going to be without safety Patrick Chung, linebacker Dante Hightower, excuse me, Brandon Bolden, running back, offensive line Marcus Cannon, fullback Danny Patel, Najee Toran, and Marquise Lee, and Matt Lacoste. So those are going to be the players going to be without. You're going to be without 8 starters altogether. I mean, more so, I think realistically, it's going to be more on the offensive side where you really got to be a little bit more attention. But, I mean, we'll find out how that's going to be. Doesn't seem like it's all too bad as drastically fought when double-checking that list. But it's going to be a transition, and we're going to see how much that magic is. We're going to see Super Cam in New England. He's going to be able to continue that under Belichick. Also, as we kick off here on the opening drive, let's continue to stay on it right now. Also, some updates for this Monday night as far as right tackle position. That seemed to be like a little bit of a battle right now between Zach Banner and Chuck Scorefor. Scorefor, remember, who was drafted back in 2018, who seems to be like a guy you would think right now will probably be the guy having the edge in this one. But I mean, not really. You also got a guy like Zach Banner, who's going to be going into his third playing season. I believe he missed 2018, but still, I mean, you look at a guy right here for everything that's been going on. This really seemed to be like a real competitive position. And if you remember, I mean, this past weekend too, you had Zach Banner pretty much understanding Mike Tomlin's stance on hesitating on naming a starter, I mean, regularly. I mean, this could still be a rotational thing, but for right now, we do know that he is going to be starting Monday night against the Giants. Who's Scorefor, who's definitely taken in the third round of the draft, 92nd overall back in 2018. I think the Steelers had 2 third-round draft picks in that one. But then you also got Zach Banner, too. Take a look at him. He was drafted back in, 2017 by the Indianapolis Colts, 4th-round pick. And I'm really going to be interested in that because for right now, the only other concern that you got going into this thing right now, I mean, it's going to be David DeCastro. And David DeCastro, I mean, who for right now is the right guard, I mean, for the offense. But, I mean, left guard, I mean, is going to be the more telling thing for this year, replacing Ramon Foster with Matt Filer. But I tell you what, for right now, I mean, one of the things, too, I mean, Mike Tom was mentioning in his press conference, he definitely liked the way, I mean, when you look at their running back, Saquon Barkley, always had a lot of respect for him. I mean, what he could do, what kind of splash plays he can make. There's still a little bit of a legitimate concern right there, too. And don't get me wrong, I think the Steelers' defense, I think they definitely got a lot of guys right now more than capable. I mean, like really trying to make this into a good season once again. But let's not forget, too, the way they ended the season last year. How much is that going to drag into for the start of this season? I really do get a little curious about that. I don't know about anyone else watching, but let me ask you right now. I'm going to pose this to the fans once again. What do you feel for this season? Is there a little bit of hesitancy right now? Does anybody watching this podcast right now, when we look at how the defense played well, they've been doing good for the last 3 years. I mean, more so since like that last stretch of 2016, when they went 11-5 and won a pair of playoff games. Do you guys truly believe that last year, or anyone that's watching this and listening, do you believe that last season was a lot more desperation football played by the team due to the fact that they were without Ben Roethlisberger? And I think this year, when you look at, do you feel like that they'll be a little bit laxed this year. So I'm not going to lie to you because there's times where this team, they can still show some undisciplined football at times. Let's not kid ourselves. I like the team. I'm glad to see Cam Hayward is in a happy spot. I mean, right now getting his money. And I just really got to believe for right now, I mean, it's not that easily to say that. I just feel like, if you got Ben Roethlisberger, will they be able to keep that same level of intensity right there? Being number one in takeaways, number one in sacks once again. You got a chance to make sack history for the first time as a franchise with 4 straight seasons of 50 or more sacks. I'm just hoping that, they're not going to take their foot off the gas is what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, for this year, I mean, like, as we know in football, any given Sunday, any given week, you cannot overlook anyone. You have to come out prepared. It's a new season. It's a new start for everyone. I don't care where they were at last year. This is now, especially when you're playing for an unknown future with COVID-19 possibly affecting your salary cap. Listen, you got to play right now, like win or die trying, the way I look at it. And that's why I just really wonder, I mean, is there going to be a drop-off? I'm not saying that there will, but I definitely do feel like in fairness, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, see if they can maintain the level of intensity that they've been dialing up here. Because let's face it, too, aside from Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, being out for the season, Minka Fitzpatrick was the game saver for that season right there. But I would also like to go a little bit further, too, than that. I mean, Terrell Austin, I think, did a real good job in that secondary coaches, I mean, for this team this year. I mean, as we look at the coaches, I mean, for the Pittsburgh Steelers for this year, I mean, as we're looking at it for right now, as we look at the defensive side, so you got Terrell Austin Sr. He's going to be entering his second year with the Steelers, 17 years of experience. Todd Bradley, Carl Dunbar, who I like. He's a real good stand-up guy right there. Love listening to him talk, especially former Steeler player for the inside linebackers coach, Jerry Olszewski. Of course, Denzel Martin, 4 years experience. I think one of the guys like on that coach staff who I'm going to look to a little bit more once again is Terrell Austin. Can he back it up for a second straight year? Because this is the guy who had the best of stints in a coaching career, I think, in the NFL. He seemed to get beat up on as a defensive assistant coach. And I want to just see him maintain that. Those would be my concerns for right now as we continue to look at this and see what we try and look at for anything going on here. Also, too, on the opening drive, we were also looking at Ben Roethlisberger, too, was finally being able to speak to the media. He was being asked some questions. And one of the very first questions got started off with right off the bat was use of hand signals going into this week's matchup against the Giants. Is there going to be any adaptation to that? Here's what Ben Roethlisberger had to say in regards to this Monday night.
They're going to pump in a little bit of crowd noise. Typically, when you're on the road, you use hand signals because it's too loud. Will you guys have to use hand signals and stuff because maybe it won't be loud enough? And to keep the Giants from knowing exactly what you're doing?
We've talked about a lot of different scenarios, even as much as giving multiple calls at a time, not quite going as far as the baseball signals, doing the old 3 type thing, things like that, the indicator. But, I think the crowd noise is going to be just enough that they can't hear you in the huddle and things like that. But hopefully we'll be able to, communicate and not, give too many things away. It's going to be tricky, though.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, that was very interesting right there. I mean, for Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he seems to be easy on the side of caution with the hand signals, not trying to give anything away. I mean, of course, I think the interesting facet would be about this, too, having the pump up of the crowd noise for this year. You know what? One interesting thing, too, I mean, it sounds a little corny, but looking at this. How many stadiums do you really feel like we'll be seeing cardboard cutout fans for the replacement of actual fans in the actual stadium? I think that'd be an interesting thing right there, too. I wonder if we'll be seeing stadiums right there since we're dealing with everything with COVID right there. I mean, it's still a lot of unknown, but I definitely do feel like for right now, I mean, this season, as far as the NFL, they prepared everything, they did everything to do diligently. And Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, when listening to him on the press conference earlier today, I mean, definitely he admitted he's got some nerves returning back, a lot of jitters. And he said, I mean, that just shows like how much seriousness he has for the game of football. And that's normal for him to have this, because if it wasn't, I think something would be a little concerning about how he's trying to take this season. And I think that's very well said by him. I really do like Ben Roethlisberger. When we look at the offseason he's had, I mean, as far as like starting off with just trying to throw a football back in February, and then little by little, we saw him taking a picture with a big old bear at a mountaintop. I don't know if it was a grizzly bear, whatever it was. Then going on courageously, breaking some law right there, but getting his beard trimmed when barbershops were supposed to be closed. But I mean, look at everything right now. You look at a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, and you watch and you listen to him. He seems to be in like a very good spot, mentally, physically, and emotionally, which I'm glad to hear. I mean, obviously, he knows he's trying to do everything he can to bring one more Lombardi home for the city of Pittsburgh and what he could do for this team. I mean, obviously, he still feels like he's got a lot more left in the tank, believe it or not. But, I mean, only time will tell. I mean, this is a guy who's definitely going to refuse to surrender, I mean, for this season and have the take no prisoner attitude. I mean, I'd be really interested to see, will he have like that Joe Montana type of finish in his career where, I mean, he gets hurt, but he's able to have like a couple more Super Bowls left in him. Because remember, Joe Montana, I mean, before he got that throwing elbow injury, that slowly started to slow him down. He was also dealing with a bad back injury, too, that he got whacked up against a team like the Giants within the last 5 years up to that point. So, I mean, he played off a lot of emotion right there. Also, knowing the fact, too, he also had some guys that Bill Walsh, who was actually head coach and executive at the same time, a GM to that team, make some trades, I mean, to like put pressure on Montana, having Steve Young right there. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with so much with Rudolph, but like I said, you do see like a guy who's trying to get a lot more redemption and still prove that he's still got this. And we'll find out how that continues to go for right now. Also, too, another question that was being brought up in the press conference today when we looked at it was by Mark Caboli of The Athletic, and he was asking Ben Roethlisberger like about possibly the tweak of having a jet sweep play or some sort of trickery play on offense. Here's Ben Roethlisberger's reaction to that.
Ben, everybody knows what the Matt Canada fingerprints look like on an offensive scheme from Pitt to LSU, Maryland. In your mind, what are the advantages of the motions, jet sweep actions, and do you like that wrinkle?
Well, I'm not. Who said we're doing any of that, Mark? I'm not giving anything away. No, I know. I think the biggest thing is definitely different for a player like myself that's been in the NFL for so long, because it does have a lot of college feel to it. I know some teams have started to do it in the NFL the last couple of years, but so it's different for me, and so it's taken some getting used to. But I've asked like the linemen and our defense kind of what it does for them, and it definitely throws the defense into a little bit of a tizzy when you see the motion. You're not sure who's getting the ball, so and it helps the lineman block sometimes too, because it helps declare on defenses. So it's definitely, this offense will have his fingerprints all over it, and you'll see some stuff on Monday night, I'm pretty sure, with those motions. So hopefully we can just be successful with it.
And very smart answer by Ben Roethlisberger. I know it kind of came off a little bit. Some people look at his response and go like, well, there's Ben just being Ben Roethlisberger as usual, being a jerk to the media or being like this little brash type of guy. Not really the case, but at the same time, I respect the fact, too, when you listen to that answer right there, that's the guy who is still being guarded as far as, like, I mean, trying to be that competitor right there. I mean, that fire that still breathes under him. I mean, when we look at it, I definitely do feel like for right now, I mean, he still if anyone wants to doubt whether or not this guy still does not have enough pride or anything left in the tank, I mean, trying to win with his teammates, be a better leader, and want people to remember him a better light. You better think again, because this guy right here has got a lot to prove, I think, this year. Also, too, we also had Mike Tomlin, too, by the way, who was actually asked on here. And he was definitely, like, even admitted, too, that he wasn't going to lie. I mean, there would probably be a little bit of jitters about, like, this season. But we'll find out. And also, sticking with, as far as right tackle prospects, I want to just get back and wrap up on there. He said it's about a tough decision. We have two guys who are starter capable. Chooks Wuma Okorafor, he's currently going to be backing up Zach Barrett for the time being, but he's also the backup to left tackle Alejandro Villanueva. I mean, along with Zach. I mean, since Zach Barrett's be starting the right tackle position this Monday night, I think that's going to be an interesting position to pay attention to throughout the season. Also, too, I mentioned this past weekend, I think it was Sunday or Monday, whenever it was tweeted, Josh Dobbs, remember, who was actually, went on to the Jaguars. He is back with black and gold, for this year. And he said that Josh Dobbs made sense because of his intelligence and mobility. And also in regards to Sean Davis, he was attractive, not just as a safety, but as special teams work. And they could be game ready for us in a quicker fashion. And remember, they still got 4 quarterbacks. So Devlin Hodges, who was actually temporarily, I don't think he was released. Let's see. I know Paxton Lynch, he was definitely released, or he was cut on this past Saturday. But Devlin Hodges is still on the practice squad. So you do have 4 quarterbacks for this season. Going into it. And I really feel like for right there, there's going to be some intriguing element where Tomlin sees a guy like Hodges where I think in a similar boat like Josh Dobbs, decent mobility, but he could still pass. I think it's just his passing game has just got to get a little bit more work. Obviously he started to lose that rhythm and energy once he fell into that game against the Bills. But he's still showing signs of it against the Cardinals too. So we'll find out how that continues to play along. So let's get ready to finish this out with fair or foul right now. Fair or foul topic number 1 going to this week's game against the New York Giants. Pittsburgh Steelers over under 3 sacks. I'm going to say over on this one. I'm going to go give me 4 sacks in this game. The Giants, if I'm not mistaken, gave up about 43 sacks. Especially when you got Daniel Jones right there, who's got sacked 38 times last season. And the Steelers are really done good sacking quarterbacks. Remember, you had back-to-back years. I think they had 6 sacks against the Browns on the opening day in 2017 in Cleveland against the Browns. That year later, that same game, they had a year later in Cleveland against the same team, 7 sacks, the one that led to a tie. But still, you saw how that resulted right there. So I'm going to go ahead and say give me about 4 sacks Monday night. I definitely do think they're going to be pumped up and ready out of the gate. So we'll see what happens right there. Speaking coming out of the gate, last but not least topic, Ben Roethlisberger in the offense will start off a little sluggish. I'm going to say fair, but over under 3 sacks. I'm definitely going to say fair over 3 sacks. So Ben Roethlisberger in the offense, yeah, I'm going to say it's a little bit sluggish. You still got to see how he's going to get that rhythm, not just with Deontay Johnson where he left off with last year, but now you also got to add some mix along with that, Chase Claypool, and then how's he going to be introduced to a guy like Benny Snell too if he has to come in at some point in the game. I mean, Mike Tomlin is comfortable with the fact that James Conner is going to be the workhorse for this running game, which I like, to be honest with you. And I think that's going to be more successful for this team because you see what James Conner can do, and he definitely had the scrimmage numbers back in 2018 to back that up. Anyway, we're going to call it to a close with this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. I want to say just once again, thank you for everybody for putting up with me in my late times. Appreciate the love, the follows here. If you guys want to keep up with me on social media, you can definitely catch me tweeting throughout the week as I try to keep up. You can check me out on Twitter for the Mass Steel Podcast at Mass Steel CJR, and on Instagram at Mass Steel Nation. I'm not just tweeting up Steelers, but also some other sports around the league, like NBA right now. I don't know how anyone's watching the playoffs right now. Oh, real quickly before I leave out here, real quickly, what's your NBA Finals prediction right now? Who are we looking at to represent the East and the West, and who are you taking? Are we going to see a Lakers Heat or Lakers Celtics Finals? Or will the Clippers fulfill Kawhi Leonard's prophecy as being the new Kings of LA and representing the West and winning the chip for the first time as an LA Clipper franchise? By the way, we'll see how that comes out. They started off in Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken, the history of their origin franchise. But still, I mean, it's a lot of good, juicy, exciting stuff. Will Jimmy Buckets, former Chicago Bull, find his niche, get his first ever ring, or open the Boston Celtics? Will they be able to pick up where they left off 2 years ago? Still doing it without Kyrie Irving. Still got a well-oiled machine in their own right. Heat only losing one game throughout the playoffs. I hope everyone is enjoying it. And continue to stay safe as we continue to show support for Black Lives Matter and social justice. So get ready for the NFL season, and I will predict tomorrow the Chiefs will start off opening week on Thursday night. Simply because it's an Arrowhead Stadium, NKC, and I think the Chiefs are well-rounded. I think the only thing is going to be a little bit of adjustment for Deshaun Watson and Houston Texans adjusting without DeAndre Hopkins. This is Charles Richey here, the Mass Steel Podcast. As always, leave it. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, sirs. Here we go. I gone.